Hi, welcome. It's Chris Petri. Thanks so much for coming by. Wow, we're going to have a fun time. We're going to paint outdoors today. We're going to pretend we're painting outdoors anyway. We're in the studio, but we're going to cover all the advantages you can have going into a situation where you're working outdoors. It's hot out. It's sunny. Paint's going to be drying fast. You need to get under some shade, but you don't want to carry all that gear out with you if you're just maybe just don't want to be lugging around a whole bunch of umbrellas and chairs and all these type of things. We'll talk about a little bit of trying to get some shade to do some of your painting, getting your drawing done, how you can get some figures into your painting a little bit easier too. So we're going to show you how to get these two figures in your painting a little bit easier than you would think. It's not that actually difficult to get some quick photos. So we're going to kind of explain all these different things in this video. We're going to have a fun time just doing a really cool, interesting beach scene along the ocean, kind of like a seascape, and we'll have figures. It's a fun painting to do, and I hope you'll join us. So we're going to start in just a second. We'll start with the layout of the painting and the drawing, and then we'll get into the actual painting portion. Okay, so we'll be right back. All right, so we just saw the finished painting, and again, our theme here is pretty much painting outdoors in hot weather. How can we accomplish that task a little bit easier, figure out some of the pitfalls ahead of time? So that's what this video is about. So I'm hoping we'll really get into some of the details about painting outdoors in the hot weather, the warm weather, the sunny weather. I know some of you have been out there and probably do a lot of plein air painting, so I'm hoping you leave some comments in the comment section about how you go about painting in the outdoors when it's hot, when it's sunny and warm out. I'm just going to offer a few ideas here, just a few fun tips and things like that we can kind of just all share together and learn from the process as we go here. So we're kind of going to walk through it like as if we were outdoors painting. So what I did is I just made a little bit of a start of the composition here so that it would save us a little bit of time, save you some time so you can do a little more time on your watercolors, and maybe we'll get to the painting a little quicker too. I know that's always exciting that once we start the painting process. We're using our Extreme Beginner Series palette, but this is for all levels so you could be using squeeze tube paints, whatever your palette is, or things like that. So that's fine. I'm just happening to. Sometimes if I'm going outdoors to paint, sometimes I'll just bring a quick, simple set like this of paints. The Prang Oval 16 set that I have here. I'll sometimes bring that out just to get some compositions done outdoors and have a good time and fun, and not make it like I have to do a perfect finished painting or anything like that, a gallery painting or something. So I'm hoping that we can work along with this palette, and it won't be a problem. But you can just use your two paints is fine. Whatever you're using at home is great. And let's see. So what I did is I just basically went 2/3 up my rectangle here, my paper. I have it taped out first with masking tape, or actually drafting tape. And then I just went up 2/3, or I went 1/3 down from the top, and I made my hash mark there. And that's going to be for the ocean, across the horizon line of the ocean. And that's there, across again, up 2/3 or down 1/3. I made my light insignia because that's really basically the sunlight's coming from up above in the sky, pretty high in the sky, and it's coming across the picture this way. So the shadows will be on the right-hand side over here on the subject matter. And the figures we're going to do. We're going to try a few figures along with this. And that'll be another thing too. We'll kind of incorporate a couple different themes here. One is, of course, painting in hot weather, warm weather. And the second thing we'll do is we'll kind of see how we could actually do our figures if we're in a outdoor scene and there's figures and you want to put some figures into your painting. We'll kind of just cover that quick too here on this video. So, all right, so I basically just drew a large square in the center of my painting here, pretty much, on my paper. Just a large square, very lightly. And then I drew in my shack here. So there's a shack, and this happens to be a souvenir shack along the ocean. And there's sidewalks here, so there's beautiful concrete sidewalks all along the ocean. And there's the souvenir shack here with that thatch rooftop, and then there's also the thatch umbrellas that are along the ocean here, where people are sitting in their chairs, their beach chairs, and on their blankets on the beach here, right along the ocean. And there's a couple boats in the background. There's one boat in the background. We don't necessarily have to draw that in if we don't want to. And we have a couple palm trees, one close up here, right by the shack, and then we have a few more palm trees over here, just very loosely in the background here. And our two figures, of course, a female figure walking towards us and a male figure walking towards us. And a little bit of bushes here. So again, to get the shack in, the first thing I just did a square shape. Then once I got my square shape, I broke it down into thirds. So I went 1/3, 2/3, and 3/3 approximately. And that's going to be I'll divide the shack into those three parts. The center part is going to be the doorway into the shack. And as you go into the shack, it's very dark in there. It's very shady. So there's lots of shade in there, and it's cool in there out of the hot sun. And then we have the window on the front of the shack, which is where some of the souvenirs are here. So we have the window and the souvenir window basically here. And then there's maybe a chair here in the shack here. So we have a chair there. And here we did a palm tree. So we have a palm tree. It's actually, there's a small like box that the tree's in. That's part of the shack. So the shack is incorporated with the palm tree, and there's a little wall around the palm tree like that. But this is the palm tree here. And this is the shade side of the palm tree here. And then we're going to have this first thatch umbrella is up here. And then we have another one about halfway down here. We have another thatch umbrella here. And then we have another one here. And this one here is maybe about the same. Like that. And then there's maybe another one in the distance here. So there's quite a number of these thatch umbrellas, actually. Thatch umbrellas that are along the beach. And then we have one over here too, which is a little bit closer. And the top of this umbrella is about a little bit lower than the top of the shack, like this. And it's over this way a little bit. And so we'll put that one here. Like that. Like that. There's some bushes over here. And they go to about here. Where the door of the shack is, the bushes kind of end there. And then over here, there's a pathway, concrete pathway, sidewalk that goes along this area here along the ocean. And that's about right where the window opening is, a little bit lower than that. And that just really kind of trails off into the background like that. Then we have over here a bit of a sidewalk over here too. And then there's some grass over here we have, a little bit like that. So all of these are just some things we can put in for the other details that we have in the painting. And then there's some rock walls over here along the ocean. So we're going to do some rock walls here. And then there's also what I'm going to do here is we're going to have a figure right over here, right to the right side of the palm tree. We're going to have a figure, and it's going to be quite large. This is going to be the walking figure here, a male figure. So this is going to be like here. Okay. So I'll just put the head of my figure here, and then we have another figure over here, a female figure, and her top of her head is going to be very close to the, it's going to be a little lower in the picture over here. She's going to have a hat. So I'm just going to draw the two figures, the two heads of the two figures, just so I kind of have where they're going to be. And then we're going to start, we're going to take a quick break now. We did a lot of work so far, but I think we have enough details. We have the ocean. Again, we talked about getting that horizon line across, and I might not have mentioned this right in the beginning here as we were starting the drawing, but when I went 1/3, 2/3 up from the bottom or 1/3 down from the top to get my horizon line for my ocean, distant ocean, I used a ruler to go across just to get it perfect, and I measured it too. So these two measurements from here to the ocean and from here to the ocean. So this would be this is basically the frame out of the painting where the tape is, where I taped out around. I measured the same equal distance from here to here, which I think was 1.75 inch, like 1 3/4 inches here, 1 3/4 inches here, and I made marks, and then I took my pencil and drew my line across like that, and that's my ocean line. And then from there, I kind of just started putting everything into the painting according to that line, that distant ocean line. So if I'm sitting on a bench here outdoors along the ocean here, let's say it's a tropical scene, I'm going to use like the ocean line as like my starting point, and then I start putting everything else into the painting. So I say, there's an ocean, there's our ocean line that goes across, and it's about 2/3 up from the bottom or 1/3 down. Then I start saying, look at that. The shack is pretty much right on that ocean line, distant ocean line. It goes up a little bit above it in this area, so that's good. That gives us a waypoint there, a place we can kind of just say that's a point we know. And then we say, this next, this would be those beach thatch umbrellas. That's a little bit higher than the ocean line, and it's right next to this thatch roof here where the shack is, the souvenir shack. And then as my other thatch umbrellas go off into the distance here a little bit, they're a little bit lower than the ocean line. They start to get a little lower than the ocean, distant ocean level line that we have across the painting. And so you can kind of see that I've kind of gotten most of my subject matter into my painting so far using that level line going across where the ocean is. And then when I was looking at my scene here, I was saying, well, let's fill up the scene with this shack, really make the shack large. So that shack here, you can kind of see in my painting, is really a prominent, that's our like main focal point of the painting, is that shack is really large, and we got the real darks in there, which make it very powerful. So your darkest dark areas is where your mind and your focus, and whoever, someone that's viewing the painting is going to look right into those darks and say, oh, wow, that's interesting. That captures the attention of the viewer of the painting. And then, so we have those two dark areas there. And then from there, we kind of have really interesting figures. And we're going to have those as also a really pretty important focal point in the painting. And then all the other parts of the painting, the palm tree over here, we're going to do a beautiful palm tree here. We'll do that next. We'll take a quick break, but we'll finish up the palm tree, and we'll maybe get the other palm tree over here in the distance. There's some palm trees over here on the left. And I think that'll be good. I think we'll have everything where we need it to be, and then we can continue and pick up in just a second. I just want to take a quick break. We've done a lot of drawing so far. We did layout. We did our hash marks. We got our light. Source of light is coming across the painting this way, so we know all the shadows are going to kind of be going across on this side over here. So that'll be a helpful thing. And again, we can adjust some things here. I might look at this now and think that, I just have to make something a little smaller if I might have to. I can do that. That's not a problem. So you can make some adjustments, but let's come back in just a few minutes and we'll explain how we're going to get these figures drawn in here, because the figures are not always easy, as we know. Let's kind of simplify it and show you how to do the figures next, and finish up with the last few details of some of the other palm trees here, and we'll be ready to paint. All right, so we're picking back up again, and we're going to get a few more details in. we said we wanted to do a few of these palm tree shapes over here, so I'll get in the basic curve of the palm here. Now this actually, these palms here are behind this trunk of this palm tree is a palm tree that's very, very high up in the picture. We don't see the palms of this palm tree trunk here. This is a palm tree that's actually behind this hut here, this shack. So just an idea on that is we're actually painting the palm tree behind the shack, souvenir shack, and then we also have this palm tree, which is the trunk of the tree, the trunk of the palm tree going all the way up and out of the picture, so we don't really see the tops of this tree here. Now, I wanted to just make sure I get the, these are the straw or thatch umbrellas on the beach. So what I do is I always make sure when I'm doing these thatch umbrellas, I draw in the thatch umbrellas in a triangular shape. So basically they're all like triangles. Some are behind other ones, so you can kind of see as they go in the distance. Some are further behind than others. You'll see more of one here and then less of one over here. So you just remember it's kind of a loose thing, but you get the pyramid type of shape. And then when I get those all in, the tops, the pyramidal shapes of the basically triangles, get those shapes in of the umbrellas, then I just make sure that at the peak, the very, very point of that pyramid, that's where the umbrella post is going to be, underneath it. And I make a little, just a small dot on the top of each umbrella and put a little dot right where the point, the exact point of the top of the pyramid is. And then I just make sure I draw my line down, straight down underneath that point. And that's exactly where the poles are underneath the umbrellas. Like that. Just to have that just set there, so we're really on track with that. And then this is again the other umbrella over here. And there's some rocks over here, rock shapes. And then we're going to have our two figures. Now, since we have all of this main information in here now, and everything looks really good, now we're going to do the figures. And what I wanted to mention about the figures is if you're outdoors and you're in a scene like this where you're seated and you're drawing the shack here, let's say you're sitting right in front of this scene along the ocean, you see the shack, so you figure, I'm going to draw the shack. That's a great subject matter, a great focal point, and you start getting in the shack and that tree right there in front of the shack, and then some other palm. There's some more palm trees over here we can do, just a couple more, just a few more details here. I wanted to make sure I get a few of those palms in there like so. Just a few. And once we have that, for the figures, what you can do is you can actually just sit there, and then when you see figures walking by, and you have your camera, you just want to be nonchalant about it. Like, you're not trying to take pictures of people. Like, I wouldn't stare right at the people and then take pictures. I would maybe carefully just move your camera around like you're taking different pictures, and then you snap a few pictures of people that are walking by. And you try to just get a few pictures, 2 or 3 maybe, of different figures walking by. And then when you're ready, you can actually take your picture, go back into your phone, and then you can just zoom in on the figure and say, okay, I want to draw that figure in my painting right here, because that figure is right about here in my photograph. So you'll look at your photograph and try to put that figure that you have in your photograph that you've taken and put it right basically in the same area of your drawing. So if that makes sense. So this way it's the same scale. It'll look correct. Because if you have a photograph of this figure walking by, then you just open up your phone and look at your photograph and say, I see the figure. They're walking right by. Here this figure is here by the shack. I'm going to put the figure in there. And then you just start drawing. And you get your figure in here, and I'm just going to do the shoulders first. And then I'm going to do the arms. And he's going to have his hands in his pockets possibly, or he's carrying some souvenirs from the souvenir shop here. And then we have the other arm over here. The other arm is barely visible because he's kind of turned to the left a little bit. So if you can kind of see, he's turned maybe a little bit to the left. So he's not directly facing us straight like this. He's turned this way a little bit as he's walking. So you're going to see less of his left arm. You'll see more of his right arm here. And that gives you a little bit of a better look for your figure when you're drawing that. And then here he's got some shorts on, and maybe I made the bushes a little bit so you could bring your bushes up to maybe make it a little bit easier for this figure, to maybe so you don't have to worry about the feet too much. Maybe he's standing and just looking around. Maybe if we want to make him feel like he's in motion and walking, you can make his legs, make his one leg trailing back like this. And then this leg like this, kind of going forward. Like that. So if you just shorten up and make this leg and the shorts over here, his pants, if you make this side smaller, and then you make this side over here with the bag larger, the pants and the leg over here, then we have a figure that looks really good, like they're walking and moving through the picture. All right, so we have that figure in, and we can just put a little bit of some eye sockets in there, nose, just so we have a little bit of detail on that face there. And then over here we have the female, and she is about here. So again, what we would do is you would go back into your photographs in your phone and say, okay, I took about 3 or 4 pictures of figures walking by in this scene. Now I'm going to go back in, look at my photographs, and then if you have this one, you say, okay, perfect. So now you have the photograph here you're working from. Let's pretend this is the painting, but we're pretending this is a photograph. And we have a few more figures that we're going to do. So we'll do this female figure here, and she's walking. And her arm curves this way, and she has a hat on here too. So I'm going to put a hat on like that. And then maybe okay, so she has a hat, and then she has a blouse on, or a dress. Looks like a dress here in this, and then right about where her hand is, we're going to have her right leg trailing back, and her left leg is going to be forward in this. So I'm making her dress like this, and then her thigh and knee and lower leg there. Now, I'm noticing that I'm slanting this figure too much, like she's kind of on an angle. I didn't mean to do that. I don't know why. I think I have a little bit of an angle here. I don't know why that's like that, but let's just start here again. Okay, so this is arm, and then the dress here. So that's the dress. That leg is here. It's just kind of going back, and then this thigh is here going. And again, I think what's happening here is going right down. I have to make sure I get this correct here. So let me see. There's the top here, and then the waist is about here. Okay, now this is a little better. Okay, so that's better. I think I was just getting a little ahead of myself here. So I'm talking to myself, obviously. And she's still, yeah, maybe walking on a little bit of an angle here. But everything looks good. And then her leg here is forward like that. And then this leg here is back, behind. Now, if you find that your figure has a little more motion or dynamics to it, don't worry about it. It does look like she might be, I don't know, maybe jogging a little bit or something like that, or maybe just see somebody she knows and she's like kind of jogging over. Oh, hi, how are you? So if you have a little bit of dynamics to your figures where they look like they're in motion, that's going to look a little more exciting in a painting versus if they're just sort of like straight, like looking just straight up like this, you know. Like a lot of times I do draw my figures a lot of times that way. I just draw them sort of, if you can get them to look, if you can get your figures a little bit like they're moving around, maybe tilted a little bit, that could work to your advantage, I think, because I think a lot of artists, we do this a lot of times. We're just trying to get the figures in, and we kind of make them sort of like, they look kind of like just straight, kind of like, I can't explain it, like they're standing still and not moving at all. So if we can get a little bit of movement to our figures, that's a little bit of a good advantage you can have, as well as like with legs. If you can make it feel like you're seeing one leg behind the other one, that will give you that feeling of walking and movement. So that's always a good help with that. So we have a little bit of both of those things accomplished here. We have both of the figure's legs are sort of crossed, one in front of the other. That gives you that feeling of walking and movement. And then other than that, this figure, our female figure here, looks like she's just walking. But she's got a little bit of a tilt, which kind of looks good. Maybe that's a good thing. It's not just kind of that straight up look where the figures are just standing completely vertical, perfectly vertical. So in any case, we're going to keep these. These look fine. These figures, we're ready to paint. So the thing I'm going to do now is make sure I have my shadow pattern correctly situated on my drawing. So I want to make sure these are bushes here in front of this figure, the male figure. So in that case, I don't have to worry too much about the shadow under his body. But here, this female figure has the shadow. The light, again, is coming across the painting this way. So the shadow is going to be on this side of her here. And then we have maybe just a few more shadows from trees and other things over here, sort of in the painting too as well. So we'll use those for some fun shadowing and things like that. And we can make our umbrellas with the umbrella posts a little bit thicker. We'll paint those in anyway. And we have some grass over here. And then now we just noticed that maybe we're going to want to shorten up these posts a little bit. I made them too long. I want to make sure that I leave room for another bit of okay, so that is some grass over here and sand areas, and then you walk over onto the beach, and that's where the umbrellas are. So the umbrellas are actually behind this grass and sidewalk area over here. So just a little bit of a correction on my part, just to have everything looking pretty good here. And then I'll zoom back out like that. And the same might be over here too. This might be up a little bit higher, so we'll just like that. And these are over here. Okay. All right, everything looks good. We're ready to paint, and we'll just get some spritzer bottle before we take a little break. We'll spritz up our paints a little bit, get some moisture on our Prang Oval 16 watercolor set, semi-moist paints. We'll have that done. That's good. We'll pick out our brushes. I think I use, usually like this is a really good brush. This is a number 5 Da Vinci Maestro brush, a travel brush, and it's a synthetic brush. So synthetics work really good for figures in this type of a painting to start with. And then maybe we'll work into some other brushes, but I think this one's going to work pretty good. Maybe I'll even go with a smaller brush, maybe. This is another brush here. This is a Jack Richardson 7130 series. And it's a travel brush. And it's a little smaller, a little bit finer. So maybe we can get some of the figures started with this, even this smaller travel brush here. And then we can use our number 5 Da Vinci to do some of the other details. But I think these are 2 good brushes we can use. You can use any brush that you have. You just always want to use a brush that fits the painting. Obviously, we're not going to come in and start painting this painting with this large brush like this, like a square brush or something, right? Just way too big for the figures. So you always want to just have your brushes matching if you have figures, you're going to want to use something like this. Kind of matches the work you're going to do. It's not too much. You won't be putting too much water and paint on with a smaller brush like this, so that it would be almost impossible, it'd be almost impossible to come in and paint this painting with this brush here, because it's, so that's the only thing we have to remember is when we're going to start to do our painting, we're going to just want to have the brush that is the right sizes for the painting. And then, these would be great for a larger sheet of paper, maybe like an 18 by 24 or even like a 10 by 12. We're using like a 7 by 10 here or 6 by 8, something like that. Let me see if we could figure this out right here. 6 by 8. So this is 6 inches by 8 inches wide. So again, we found our correct brushes that we're going to use. We have those. And we'll get started in just a second painting. Be right back. All right, so here we go. Let's start getting some paints on here. The first thing we talked about when we started was our focal point, which was this is a small shack, souvenir shack where they sell souvenirs along the beach here. So let's get the darks in first. Let's do this alla prima, which means we're just going to paint everything at one time. And we're going to usually start with the alla prima method. We're going to start with the darkest darks. And this way we can kind of work those in first. And then we can do the lighter tones a little bit later. So I'll just start out here and I'm going to say to myself, the darks in the interior of that shack, we're going to use brown and blue. That gives us a great dark right there, brown and blue. Maybe we use a little bit of that type of blue here. That's more like a cerulean blue. Maybe we'll even put a little bit of orange in there too. And we'll just start going in and getting some darks. And I'll paint in those thatches as I do the darks there. If you can see, that's kind of a great way to do it. You're almost painting in reverse to get some of those nice sharp points for the thatch of the roof. A few of those, and you're really good at that point. You're going to have the feel of it, and then a little bit of red too. So we'll have some different mixtures of dark in here. We wouldn't want to go just the darks. We want to mix in some warm and cool colors. So cool colors would be the blues. Warm colors are the browns and the reds and the oranges and things like that, yellow. So we'll mix a little bit of everything there. A little more blue again here, blue and brown. Makes a great dark. You can make a couple Maybe a couple of little scrapes of light in there if you want. But the main thing is here we're getting in the darks of the interior of the antique shack here, the hut. And then we'll maybe make it a little bit lighter toward the bottom. There's maybe a little more light here. So there's more light there. So I'll just add a little more water to the mix over here to make it a lighter wash. I'll maybe add some brown to it. And there we go. And then right away I'd want to infuse in some blue for the shadowing. Just, it looks better if you can get those shadows to kind of fuse together with the other. A little bit of purple in there too. Purple is good. Shadow colors. Purple's great for shadow colors. There we go. Okay, and then let's work some more darks again. Brown and some of that blue, that darker blue. It's almost like a French ultramarine blue. And we're going to get some more of that here in the window area. A little bit of orange maybe, and the two oranges there. Dark orange and a medium orange. And I'll do the same thing. Get a couple pointy kind of things going on there. Maybe leave a little bit of light in there bouncing around. Okay, then we can start doing the shadowing under here, under the eave of this thatch roof. Purple. A little bit of that brown mixture with the purple. Like that there. Couple splashes here and there. A little more brown in a couple spots maybe. Try to mix the colors around. Kind of looks boring, just one color. If you can get a mixture of colors, that really works well. Orange, purple. Then what I'll do is I'll start to look and see about some of the other colors on the shack. Brown and green a little bit. Kind of like a grayish color. Then I'll just do a couple of they're almost like boards. So I'll just try to mix up those colors on there for the boards. There's a little bit of a darker under the shelf there by the window. A little bit of a shadow under the shelf there. And then we have some more of that greenish color on the outside of the shack. The boards, there's some long boards like this. I just try to get those in like that. Try to leave some of them might be in the shade over here a little bit. Same thing here, there's some shade over here. All right, now since we are working in this area, let's continue Maybe we're going to do some palm trees now. This is the... I'm just letting the water flow down here for this palm tree. And I'm just going to do some... Palm trees have those like rings around them, like that. And I'm just remembering that the light's coming this way, so I'm leaving that light across the palm tree there. And then the shadow side of the palm tree is over here. Maybe I'll put some warm colors in there too, some orange. I notice I have a lot of cool colors here. Let me get some orange in there. All right, now let's maybe finish inside here. Inside the shack, there's the chair. There's like an orange chair here. I'll put that in like so. And then there's some darker darks under the chair. Like that. Okay. You can always go in with a tissue. If you have too much puddly water, just lift up a little bit. Like that. And once you lift up, you just want to refold your tissue or your paper towel so that you don't take damp, wet paint and tap again and it makes like a mark on the paper. So I always try to remember that, not to, if I lift up some paint with my tissue, I try to roll the tissue around so that it's clean again for the next time I do some blotting. And we'll do some blue over here too. Okay, so I think things are coming along really good here. I think we can do a little bit of red too. So you can kind of see I'm trying to mix in some color. You can always do this as you're going. If you find there's too many gray colors or too much dull looking maybe gray colors in your painting, that's when you can just start going in, taking some of your brighter, exciting colors, and you just put them in. You infuse them into the washes as you're going. And that'll tend to kind of liven up some of the just very, bland looking colors here and there. So, but we do want to have the gray colors too. Those look good. Okay, so now let's continue on. Let's start working with our figures. Let me think about this. Let me start out with the male figure first. Darker skin, so I'm going to go with orange. A little bit of red, a little bit of orange, brown, red, orange, and brown. And then, what else do we have there? I think that's good, red, orange, and brown. And we'll just do the whole face like that. And we'll work down some into the neck area there. Okay, and that looks good. That's a good bit of flesh tone for the face, and then we can go right in where the arms are. And then over here too as well. I'll maybe do some darker tones on the right side of the face and the arms. And then let's move right down to the legs here. So I'll make the darker tones here on the right side. Then get a little bit of a lighter tone here, orange and red. Okay, and that kind of captures the light and shadow on the flesh tones. So we'll continue to work here. Let's get a little shadowing. Purple. So we have some purple here. And some orange. Purple and orange, I think makes a good shadow here. Alongside the shirt there, where the arm is. And then there's some yellow for the shorts with a little bit of orange. And then we can do the shorts with like a gold yellow color. There we go. And then we could add a little bit of purple for the shadow on this side of the pants, the shorts, like that. Just a little bit, it goes a long way. And you can also wait till the painting, the figure dries a little bit, and you can add more shadowing then too. So don't feel like you have to add your shadowing in right away. You can always let that go, and once it dries, then you can come back and add your shadowing on the right side over here. I kind of blended it in, but I might need to go back and do some more shadowing in there. And then the shirt up here too. Let's do some of that. So let's come over here, and we'll just shirt here with some shadow. Very, very light. There we go. Okay. And then if you have to blot up a little bit, no problem. But that's our male figure, I think, pretty good. We can add some more shadows eventually when it dries a little bit, but I think that's looking okay, looking pretty good. Let's take a break at this point. We've done quite a bit of work now. We got our main focal point in, our souvenir shack or shanty or hut. And we have our tree started with some good shadowing on our palm tree here. I added a little secondary bit of shadowing there. And we have our male figure here with the flesh tones and some I'm going to try to get some of that blue in just a little bit, because we're going to use that blue for our sky color and a few other watercolors for the ocean. So I want to make sure I introduce that here and there. So I'm just putting in some of that really beautiful cerulean type blue there. Trying to incorporate that a little bit. Okay. All right, again, let's I think I can do a few more things here. Maybe there's a I'll do some shadowing under here a little bit. Like that. And everything doesn't have to be perfect, if you can imagine. Sometimes you can just get some shapes and paint colors in. There's so much going on this painting that, again, you know, you can just sort of, some things don't have to be absolutely perfect or anything like that. Okay, so that's going to be the side over here of the shack over here. I'm blending in some of the shirt there. But, okay, let's take a break. We have plenty of plenty of work already accomplished with our painting. Again, our main focal point, the hut, souvenir hut. Our figure over here. Let's come back and we'll start working on our female figure over here. And then once we have that in, I think it's going to be a pretty fun and easy time. We're just going to get the ocean in, do some details to the umbrellas, and we'll put in a little bit of the palm tree behind this hut here. And this hut, I'm just going to erase that little bit of ocean line there that goes through the hut. There, that's better. And I can just get the top of the hut here like that. Like that. Perfect. All right. Let's come back in a few seconds. Let's take a quick break. Breaks are fantastic. I'm hoping you're having a fun time so far. I'm always mentioning, if you haven't subscribed yet, I'm hoping you're going to subscribe to my channel. This way you can be here and be alerted each time we're creating a new video on my channel. You'll be alerted right away that we've started a new video. You can join along, paint along with us, draw and paint, or you might just want to watch it. And maybe sometimes many of us are very busy, so I know some of you are going to be busy. You're maybe not going to always be able to draw and paint along with every video that we do here, but watching is a great way to learn about watercolor too. So if you're just starting out in watercolor, or maybe it's your first couple years, please watch all the videos. Watch them a couple times if you can. The more you're watching, the more you're going to learn about the techniques, the methods we use here to get these paintings completed. And also you'll learn the terminology. You're going to learn all about the colors, the names of the colors that we use, the brushes. So it's almost like the more you're watching our videos, the more you're just going to be learning all the basic fundamentals of watercolor and painting in watercolor. And that's going to be a huge advantage for you. So I'm hoping you're going to take advantage of that and watch as many videos as you can. And again, if you can't always paint and draw, no big deal. We're all busy. Try to do the ones you think are the best for you, the ones that you like the most. Those might be the ones to do. And always remember too, you don't always have to do everything we're doing in one painting. You can always section off a small part of a painting too. So again, if you're kind of newer, you might just say, I just want to do one part of this. So you might section it off and say, I'm only going to do half of this painting. I'm just going to do this half over here. I'll do the one figure, one umbrella, and a little bit of the shack. Doesn't have to be the whole shack, right? Or you could do maybe a part of the shack like that. Or you might say, I want to do the female figure and maybe just a little bit of the shack here. So I'll just do this half. So always remember, you can take the paintings that we do here on my channel and break them down into smaller pieces and work on just sections of it if you want to. That's a great way to learn. Sometimes if you feel like you're maybe too much information is going to kind of bog you down and get you kind of frustrated a little bit, or it give you a hard time, don't worry about it. Always remember, feel comfortable with what you're working with. So if you are finding that there's too much information, try to scale things down, do small parts of a painting first. And that really helps a lot. That helped me a lot when I first started. That's the only reason I mention it. The things that help me, I'm always going to try to mention to you so that maybe you can try it out. And if it doesn't work, well, that's fine too. But at least I'll mention it to you, what worked for me. And we're all different as artists. So you're the artist. You'll figure out which is the best way for you. I'll mention what works for me and what worked for me, all through my years. And I'm sure you're going to learn some things you're maybe not going to use. That's fine too. So we're just here all working together, having a great time. Okay, we'll be right back and we'll continue painting. All right, so we're getting back started. Let's continue on with, we'll start the female figure. I'll get some blue here for the dress. And I might spritz a little bit here. Okay, there's going to be some light on top of that right leg. And then over here, there's going to be that there. I think that's good. I'll rinse off my brush, maybe purple and orange, just a little bit of a... I'm going to leave some... I'll leave lots of white paper and just sort of work my way. For the female flesh tone, I would say red and a little bit of yellow. Red, a little bit of yellow. A touch of brown, maybe. Red, yellow, brown. Might have to add a little more red in there. Looks pretty good, I think. Maybe a little bit of orange. And I'll just do the legs here. And we'll do an arm here. And then we have a little bit of the brown and blue. We'll make a dark here. A little bit of red in there too. And I'll just make she has like a backpack or purse there. And some more flesh tone here. And in the face too, we have the flesh tone there. Then I'll rinse off the brush. I'll dry off the brush a little bit on a paper towel or tissue and then just sort of smooth out the arm there a little bit. Maybe smooth this here a little bit. I guess the key is not to get, like, I would say let the paints mix around and that's fine. And I think that looks pretty good. A little bit of the purple mixture here. And if you find it looks too dark when you add in a shadow or something, you can just lift it up. That's fine. And again, everything doesn't have to be perfectly spelled out when you're painting, and every detail attended to. Get some good shapes in there with your paints, and then just let it be, let it go, and then get some shadows in. Should be fine. Okay, so now let's get our shadow in. Again, we talked about infusing our shadows if we can right away. Okay, now we will I think I'm going to try doing some of the umbrellas here, which are kind of going to be a little bit simple, not too difficult. We're going to do brownish red. with some of the purple down here. So we're going to mix brownish red and purple, a little bit of yellow too. And these would be the shadow sides of the thatch umbrellas. A couple of little small details of the pointy thatch. Then over here, we're going to leave it very light, maybe just a few brush strokes here and there. Very light though. Let's leave the light on this side of the umbrellas. Remember, the light's coming from this direction across, so we're going to leave the left side of the umbrellas, or the right side of the umbrellas, or if we're looking at it here, this area here, we're going to leave with light effect on it coming from this direction. And we'll do the same thing over here. We'll just work our umbrellas all at one time, and that's a good plan of action if you can. Does that make sense? To sort of work the same things all at one time. So now that we're doing the umbrellas, let's do all the umbrellas right across, because we got the colors mixed up here in the palette already. So, and we're already kind of thinking about it and getting the feel of the umbrellas and saying, all right, yeah, we're going to add a little bit of lines on the light side of the umbrella, but we're going to keep it mostly light white paper. But we're going to make the left side, we're going to make this side of the umbrellas with the shadow, which is the purple and the brown mixture with a little bit of yellow, a little bit of red, you can blot up a little bit if you want. Then we'll go in here and get our darker dark, which is blue, brown, that darker blue like the French ultramarine blue, and a little bit of red. And then we can get in the poles underneath, which are pretty dark, like that. And the same thing over here. We'll do this one here, a little thicker, like that. A little bit of a shadow feel there, a little bit of light on there. Maybe a little bit of dark under the thatch, just in a few spots. Same thing here. And we'll do the same thing over here. A little bit of that same color over here, not too much. Just a couple lines like this for the thatch to gives it that feel of the thatch there. A couple of darker ones maybe like that. Good. All right. So next, let's work on some of the palm tree area. The palm trees. Let's take a quick break again. I always suggest you take breaks maybe every 15-20 minutes or as much as you need. You're the artist. You'll figure out when you need some breaks, but I think it's always good to take a little bit of a rest, let yourself relax a little bit. You feel a little more refreshed. You come back before you start painting again. You look at your painting and you kind of see, is there anything here that looks like I may need to adjust, or you kind of just have a little bit of time to reflect on the painting as it's coming along. And then once you do that, you can kind of just slowly get back started again, and it really works out well. So I always, again, please take breaks as much as you like. If you don't need breaks and you feel like you can work right on through, that's fine as well. Not everyone has to take breaks. So you're the artist, you'll know when you have to take a break or not. And let's get started in just a second with the palm trees, and that's going to be the next thing we'll do. And then after that, I think we're pretty much just about finished. Okay, we'll be right back. All right, we're picking back up again, and let's see. Let's start to work in some of these palms behind the souvenir hut. So I'm going to take both of my greens, the dark green and the light green, in my oval Prang Oval 16 set. A little bit of yellow here. A little bit of that Viridian color, turquoisey kind of color. I'll put that up there. So here we have some, and I'm just going to follow, the pencil lines that I created earlier. And I think that'll be fine if I use the pencil line as my guide as to where I'm going to put the lines for the palms, the needles of the, I should be fine. Okay, and then I take some, just do a couple of kind of, suggestive brush strokes where I'm not really painting all the needles, just a few bits of paint. Maybe I'll go with some darker green here, a little bit of brown in there to kind of gray it down. That's too much. That might be good there. A couple of green like that. Sometimes I'll just put maybe a couple little dark spots in there. Maybe some orange. Okay, that's good. That says the story of some palms over there. Again, I'm not going to go with a ton of detail. I'll start working in this kind of the cerulean blue color here. I might do that actually after. All right, so now what I'm going to do is let's get some ocean color here, blue, the dark blue and green with a little bit of the cerulean blue as well. And let's get a line going across. Now we're going to be careful not to paint the top of the figure's head there. We want to keep that just the way it is. We don't want to then we're going to leave a little bit of white waves coming in, some white waves crashing on in to the scene here. And then we'll do the same over here. We'll start over here. Kind of get ourselves a nice dark going across here. You can even add some brown in there to the blue and green to get ourselves that good dark across here. Like that. Then some of those waves crashing in far out in the distance. It's a windy day maybe today. Then I'll just start adding in basically just some water here. Not too much paint now. We're keeping the darker paint toward the top, and this here very light. Okay, so that Gives us the ocean, so that really is fine. That gives us the, kind of spells it out for us. There's the ocean, the beautiful distant ocean, horizon line across, waves crashing in, beautiful day, sunny. Now we're going to do just a little bit of, these are some rocks over here, a little bit warmer color, yellow, orange, brown. I'm just going to put some of those rock shapes in there. And I don't have to worry too much. Just, we know there's rocks back here. We'll paint them in. But I don't think anyone's really going to think too much about that. It's sort of right at the edge of the painting. So, not a big deal. And then there's some water actually coming in over here too. And this is maybe some of that Viridian kind of looking water. Like that, going along in there. Maybe a little bit of purple for shadowing. Along here, there's a little bit of shadowing there. Okay. Now let's do some sky wash. Let's shift up to a larger brush. So I would say that's pretty good. It's a little bit larger. That should be a little better. The number 5 Da Vinci travel brush, which is synthetic. Let's get our sky wash in here. And I'll use some of that cerulean blue, I think. Like that. What I'll do is I'll maybe pre-wet the paper a little bit. And what I'll do is I'll go around with a damp brush the top of the shack. So I'm taking a damp brush with just damp water, damp water in the brush, and I'm going and putting a damp line just above the top of the ocean and above the shacks and this umbrella. And this way, when I go in to paint the sky, it's not going to, like, let's say, leak down and disrupt the other washes we just did, like the ocean. And it won't disrupt the umbrellas, tops of the umbrellas there, the thatch umbrellas and this roof, the thatch roof of the hut. So if you just do that damp brush along there, that really works good. And you can even do a little bit around the tree too, the palms, if you want to do a little bit of damp brush work there, just so again the water's not going to leak all over those washes that we just created. And I think that's fine. Then you can take a little more water and just maybe wet the paper a little bit here and there, not everywhere. Be careful not to go over the areas we just were careful about, and that should be good. And then we just go in and we just gently, I find skies are much better off just doing them real loosely, just almost throwing the paint on to get your cloud shapes, you know. If we were to sit there and try to draw in those clouds, it would be, to me, really tough and difficult. Why bother doing it the difficult way when we can just let the paint do the work? Just by doing that little bit of sky is darker at the top and gets lighter as it goes down. I think that looks fine. Then maybe just to finish things here a little bit, let's get some grass color. Yellow. We can go over here, yellow and green. Yellow and some green, like that. And let's get some bit of grass just to kind of tantalize the eyes a little bit so that we're looking over here and we know it's over here maybe just a little bit too. I'm just going to go in and tap on a little bit of some paint So now I'm just doing a little bit of details, but I'm not going to, these are just like little bits of bushes and things. I'll just kind of blend it in at the lower section. I'll blend it into the corner of the painting, out into the tape. And then up top, I'm going to leave that all with the white paper. Like that. And then over here, maybe a little more of that mystery shadow of a shadow coming into the painting. Something is outside over here. Over on this side, there's something causing a shadow. We just put it in the painting. If we see it, we put it in the painting. So we just do that. A couple shadows there. Shadows are darker here. And again, we'll do some, just a couple of finger taps here and there. And I think that is good. The rest is kind of sand, so we can even get that little bit of sand color. Couple spots here and there, a little bit of that kind of sand color. Scrape the brush across the paper a little bit, but I wouldn't do too much, just a tiny bit. Just like that. And then over here too. A little bit of sand color over here. A little bit of ocean color there too. Where the umbrellas are. Of water coming in. All right, so that's good. This is our finished painting. Maybe just a touch more of the, we have our bit of our palm tree over here, just to get that little bit of, just like that. Palms are, that. And there we have it. And that's it. If you want to fine tune a few things, that's fine. You know, you can always do a little bit some more. Maybe what we'll do is we'll come back and I'll just do a few things that I thought might be like an important detail or two that might really kind of make it a much better painting if we can just add a few details, but we have to do them very carefully. So I'll show you next just a few minor details, but yet they're going to really help the painting look better. Okay, so we'll come right back and we'll finish up the next 5 or 10 minutes and we'll be on our way and we'll be ready to start another painting any second or any minute now. All right, we just talked about doing a few extra little bits of detail that's going to kind of, again, just make the painting look a little bit better. So what I wanted to do was when I first painted the male figure, I went with a dark paint for the face and the neck and the arms and the legs. Everything came out really good. We put a little bit of shadow and light on the darker skin tones here. Now what we can do is we can actually enhance it by just taking a little bit of a darker dark, which would be blue, the dark blue, and then the brown, and a little bit of red. Mix that up, and then we take it and we take a tissue and we dry off our brush a little bit, take some of that paint off the brush. We don't want too much paint on the brush at this point. We're just going to do a very, very little bit of detail. We just want to put some eye sockets here on the figure, like that. And I think that looks good. Maybe there's some sunglasses. Let's even say, those are sunglasses. Let's go with some sunglasses. That looks good. Then what we'll do is we'll take some white paint, titanium white paint. You'll see me always use this on my channel. Titanium white. And then I already have a little bit of yellow or orange, tiny bit of yellow or orange in the paint, top of the tube of paint. And then what I do is I just take a tiny bit of the paint, make sure I dry off my brush really good, and then just get a tiny bit on the very, very tip of the brush like that. Can you see that? It's only a little bit on the tip of the brush, just a tiny bit. And we'll do is we'll just put a little bit for the nose, just a little bit of light on the top bridge of the nose, like that. Okay. And a little bit on the top of the head too, like that. Maybe a little bit on the shoulders. That looks pretty good. Okay, now what we'll do is, another thing we can do is create a bit of light. And if the nose, bridge of the nose looks a little bit too much, you can always dab up a bit. Or you can even gently dab a little bit of water on there and soften it up a bit. Then what we can do is we can add a little bit of dark. Actually, let's even lighten this up. Let's lighten up the forehead. So I rinse off the brush, dry off the brush on tissue, just to leave the brush a little bit damp, and then put a little bit of dampness on the forehead of the head here. Then we take the tissue and just blot up a little bit. There we go, a little bit of light on the face. And then we do the same thing, rinse off the brush, dry off the brush, just so you have a damp brush, and put a little bit of, just dab on a little bit of damp brush there. And there you have another bit of light there. And then another one over here on this cheek over here. So you want to kind of put a little bit of light on the cheeks of the face. And then maybe over here, we dampen the paper right there. Like that. And then now we have a little more detail on this face of this figure. And I think that's important. If you can get a little bit of more detail on on the closest figure in this painting, which is this figure here, this male figure, I think we're much better off if we have that little bit of detail there. On the female figure, we're okay, I think, with a little less detail, but we could put a little bit of detail. Let's maybe try a little bit of facial details, maybe just a few, maybe just a little bit, a tiny bit of purple with a damp brush. Dry off the brush, not too much. Maybe rinse off the brush. Maybe we'll use some of this flesh tone color, maybe. Dry off the brush, not too much. Maybe just a little bit maybe a little bit for the nose too. On second thought, I think we can leave this one a little more abstract. Let's leave that one abstract, this figure, the female figure. But this one we definitely wanted to make a little bit of some light on the nose, on the forehead, and on the cheeks, a little bit on the chin. That makes it just a little more interesting. This way, like when we're looking at the painting and someone is viewing the painting, they're going to go right to the figure first, and then the shack, and then they're going to come over and look at this figure here, the female figure, and then it kind of just becomes an interesting little bit of more information. We might look at the umbrellas a little bit, the tree, but we'll always come back to the figures and in the shack here. I think those are the real key parts of the painting that are the focal points. So I hope you enjoyed this very much, and we're going to be back soon to paint. I will do just a quick I'll just peel off the tape. I think that always kind of, painting looks really good if we can just frame it out a little bit. And again, these are compositions. You might try this 2-3 different times. You might make a smaller version. Maybe you do one side first, the other side second, and then maybe you try the whole painting all at one time. It's up to you how you want to do it. It does help sometimes to maybe break a painting down into smaller pieces sometimes if you have to. But that's the painting finished. And then, of course, at the beginning of the video, you can always go back and see the painting where I have it, I have it zoom, I have a zoom picture of it, video of it actually. So you'll see the actual full, larger size painting. with all the details. Okay, all right. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.